It's time for the Uncommon Wealth bonus content.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to Uncommon Wealth Podcast, where I am your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Thanks for tuning in. This is the bonus content that we are going to talk about. Old Josh Nielsen, everyone.
Yes, Zencastr.
Zencastr, one of the OGs that started his business out of, I need to figure out something.
Yes.
I love this person, and I need to go follow my dream, which is her, and then figure out how to get paid.
That's awesome. His story is really cool.
Yeah. Very uncommon, by the way.
Yes.
Aaron, before we got on this podcast, he was like, how did you get on this? And I was like, dude, they reached out to me. Like, I don't, but like, Josh is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I've just met Josh at a party, I'd be like, you need to be on our podcast, because what and how you describe it is exactly what we want to try to deliver to our audience.
Yes.
So his first definition of success, which this happens all the time, you guys, is like, you think this is, as soon as I get to this, it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Every
time that goalpost moves, but was $15,000. And then so he launches it, which sounds like it was a complete stress-induced process, to the point where he's just cuddling his wife while she's sleeping. But after that, he hits it and he nails it.
This is $17,000.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Right? And so what a proof of concept. Like at least your shoulders go down like, whoa, at least it happened. Because how did he fund it? Credit cards.
Yeah. So, 3 of them.
Yeah. 3 credit cards. Man, this guy's all in. But like we talked about, like his experience up to the 2 years before that had proven, and his experience before that.
Yeah. I was like, that's what I took away from it, is like seeing like here, he did something really big.
Yep.
You know, like bigger than all of us could most time dream of doing.
Yeah.
But he started out trying to do something with music, trying to get it off. It failed. Everyone gave up, split up.
Right.
But he didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
And so he, remembered a way, someone telling him about podcasting. And then now look at him.
Killing it.
Jumped in it, like built it on the side for 2 years. I mean, like that's a hard work. Like anybody knows, like you work in a full-time job, doing other things, and keep plugging away at something.
Yeah. And so like it was a very calculated risk.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you can never get 0% of risk out of anything. It doesn't work that way. But you can take calculated risk. And I felt like that's what he did. He took a very calculated risk, one that he showed that he can do.
Yeah.
And he was passionate about it. If you're doing something on the side for 2 years, you're pretty passionate about it. And then it started working. And it started working really, really well. Yes. And the funny thing about, I think, the human brain is we can, define success, and it usually changes once we hit that success. And it's kind of like, wait, that's it?
Yeah.
But then also trying to figure out, what if it works too well? That's usually not what we think about, right?
Yeah.
Like we only think about what's the worst case that can happen. And sometimes the worst case that can happen is actually it works too good.
Yeah.
Which it seemed like that's what kind of Josh had created.
Yep.
Did you get that kind of undertone?
Yeah, because it was like it grew to the point where it was causing him stress,
Yes. And so not only that, but then he didn't want to grow a team, because you pointed out in the podcast, which I thought was super astute, that like he's not necessarily a people person. Like he wants to be managing people. He kind of just wants to manage just himself, the software that he can plug in, make sure that it goes right. He's not the person that seems like, and you caught up on that, and he agreed. So growing a team was like, I don't know if I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. If you could go back and say to your younger self one thing, he'd say, grow a team quicker than you thought.
Yeah.
Because they actually do take things off your plate. And that's just a perfect example of like, we're all uniquely gifted.
Yep.
And the way that Josh is gifted is different. The way that I'm gifted is different than you're gifted, Aaron. But, as you unify together, you can start kind of just using your superpower and then alley-oop somebody else that has their superpower.
Yeah. And then those people tend to help you bring up your weak areas. Like he mentioned that, because he brought on his friend to help him. And that was his main, sounds like it was his strong suit, is like managing people, leading, but it's really helping Josh bring up those skills in that time frame.
Yep. But the biggest thing that I took out, what do you think it is? What do you think the biggest thing that I took out of Josh Nielsen's podcast?
Oh man, I don't know. Do I have
true happiness?
Yeah.
True happiness is always different. And when he felt like he got his success, he was depressed.
Yes.
Right? Because money is not true happiness.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with money.
Yeah.
So if you're out there who are sitting in your car, listening through your earphones, whatever, and you think that there's something about money that's going to make you happy, you need to thwart that system, throw it out the window.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. It is not how it works. And I love that he was almost more depressed because he realized that money wasn't going to make him happy. When he first started, hey, it's going to define success. As soon as I get $15,000 a month, then I'm going to be fine. No, it isn't the way. It's not the way. And once you come to realize that, if you're not ready for it, of course you'd be depressed because you thought that was going to be the end all be all. It's not true. So to me, the fact that he understands true success, and that's why I have a faith, right? That's why you have faith. That's why, and I kind of wanted to get into that. I didn't, so I wussed out. That's on me. But that's where I think true happiness is when you can find joy in something outside yourself.
Yeah.
When you can find some joy in an eternal factor, but then also find your joy in other people. And so that to me is where Josh is now.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I like to think this. I could totally be wrong, but when you get to that point, there's two routes he could have gone. Mm-hmm. He could have ignored the depression and been like, "Oh, it's not 15,000. I guess maybe it's 30,000."
Oh yeah, changed it with a different number.
Changed it with a number, and kept chasing that and hitting that it's not enough. It's not enough. Which is that whole chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
But instead, he sat in his depression, but figured it out. And what was the result? Maybe I can help serve the team better and then give them a better life.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Right.
And then what happens? It blew up even more.
Yeah, right. And then other people got to be a part of this success.
Yeah.
Which is really fun to be able to be on top of the mountain with the whole team.
Yes.
And as many things have happened as you were climbing up the mountain, but you get to all look at the view from up top. And so that was a great interview. I was really excited about that
cool.
one. Yeah. Thank you, Josh, for being on our show.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time. Gosh, I wish you the best. 2 daughters and a wife. Got a bright future ahead of yourself. And we're here for whatever way we can help. I don't know how we could, but
we should be a great leader.
Yeah, lead well. And I'd say your lack of being a people person is actually a huge asset to you now.
Superpower.
Because you are serving at an amazing pace. So thank you for being on the show, Josh. Thank you for listening to our podcast. For those who are just heard our last podcast about Josh, this is what we like to do. We like to recap of what we learned from the show. And so I hope that's beneficial to you.
It's beneficial to us because we talked to some amazing people.
We sure do. You've been listening to Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Until next time, go be uncommon.